Hello everyone and welcome back to some more professional StarCraft 2. Today it's time for a best-of-5 series of Terran versus Terran, where in game number 1 we find ourselves on 2,000 atmospheres. Spawning here in the bottom left-hand corner, playing with the blue SCVs, we have the very best Terran player from South Korea, and his name is Maru. His opponent in the opposite corner with the red Terran SCVs, the man who's considered to be the very best Terran player outside of South Korea. From France, we're looking at Clem's main command center. Alrighty, so Clem versus Maru in a best-of-5. In my mind, this series is pretty much here to determine who the very best Terran player in the world is currently. Obviously, it's just one series. Obviously, it's Terran versus Terran as well, which is a very chaotic and very difficult matchup. But there's no denying that I think we should be in for a very, very fun one. So this particular series was recently played during DreamHack Winter. Now, when it comes to the Aligalek rankings for Terran players currently, Aligalek, which is a statistics website for StarCraft 2, ranks the Terran players as follows. So in first place, there's Maru, then there's Clem, Cure, Bjorn, Hero Marine, Bunny, and Dream. And I would say, yeah, that list is pretty accurate. I mean, always, you gotta take the statistics with a grain of salt. Cure, obviously, most recently winning the GSO Code S, which is very impressive. Maru falling short over there in South Korea, but there's no denying that, at least with Maru's track record over the last decade or so, he's been looking ridiculously strong, and in many people's minds, he's the very best StarCraft 2 player ever. Anyways, let us find out exactly what ended up going down between these two. So, it is going to be a TVT. This matchup in general, it can be very chaotic. Wouldn't be surprised at all if we're going to see very similar builds. Maru, for example, right now is scouting around. Okay, he sees that it's at the very least not a very quick command center, but that's about all he sees, right? So, there's a wall off right here on top of the ramp. Maybe if he walked the SCV right here to the tippity top, he would have just barely been able to see the factory. But even then, you don't really know exactly if there's going to be another barracks hiding, for example, right over here, right? This matchup can be very cheesy, and while the mid-game can definitely be a little bit more passive, there's no denying that the, well, in order to get to the mid-game, you're gonna have to survive the early game first and foremost. Both players sending their first Reaper towards, well, somewhat across the map, I suppose. Okay, he's just poking at the watchtower there. Clem actually just runs up the high ground, not scared of a Reaper hiding on top of that. It's gonna be a CC, I think, here eventually for Maru, okay. Well, Clem did get the first hit in right now, and he decides to chase this down. Does Clem already have a second Reaper out? He does not. Although I think, yeah, it just finished. So he's going to be able to send that one right now over in this direction as well. Maru's Reaper actually kind of stuck. I like what Clem is doing here, hiding at the watchtower. Can he get it? I think he can. Reaper here, sadly for Clem, not on the right attack path, and it does mean that Maru just barely manages to sneak away. Now, the problem is, if this Reaper would have died, Clem probably... He's looking right now. He didn't see it on the watchtower, probably. If this Reaper would have died, Clem would have been able to go straight into the natural expansion of Maru and then kill the SCV that's building the command center, and it's a disaster. Instead, the blue Reaper here is going to be able to wreak havoc inside of the mineral line for at least a little bit. Clem is going to be forced to, at the very least, send some reinforcements over here. Will the Reaper be able to get out as well? Maru! Oh, perfectly timed that. Manages to get the unit out. Alright, at the same time, on the other side of the map, looks like the SCV did end up going down regardless. Maru now has a couple of those Hellions out. Is he going to be able to pick up... Whoa, my god. Oh my god! Look at the Superman death! So we are on 2,000 at most. The map is underwater, right? That's the idea anyways. My people need me, I must go. The most epic death animation ever. 3 Reapers and a Hellion going up against 2 Hellions and 2 Reapers. Obviously, with good micro, you can negate a lot of that Hellion splash damage, and so far, Maru is doing that brilliantly. 2 more Reapers are going to reinforce this as well, bringing the grand total up to 5. Alright, Siege Tank is a follow-up, Medevac is a follow-up, 2 Marines over here as well, so I think Maru probably is going to continue the aggression for a bit longer. Clem does have the Cyclone out at this point. Okay, he's got to be careful though. Maru losing one of the Reapers, uncharacteristically, but he does get, I think, a Hellion right there for his opponent as well. Cyclone here is going to shut down this Reaper aggression for a little bit, but right now the follow-up for Clem is going to be a 3rd command center and a Raven. He really needs to continue producing out of that factory, I'm pretty sure. Okay, he does start up another Cyclone. Yeah, so all of those units that Maru just made, so 4 Marines in total, as well as that Medevac, of course, and then also the Siege Tank, they're now loaded up inside of that plane. And, well, the Medevac obviously isn't loaded up in on itself. That would be something. Beautiful scout right here by Clem, though. He does see these units coming in. Cyclone is going to patrol right here on the perimeter. Clem doesn't really have that much. I think he might need a a bunker maybe, or something along those lines. Either way, Maru is now already inside of the natural expansion here of Clem once again. Raven is out, but it doesn't have much energy yet. Clem actually taking a little bit of damage over there on that one as well. Second Cyclone here for the Terran player in red is out. Obviously, you can lose a lot of SCVs. It doesn't really matter when you have that second command, or that third command center rather done. Looks like there was a little bit of counterattack aggression as well by Clem, probably just a Reaper or something along those lines. Anyways, if you lose SCVs, it's not the end of the world, but Clem, you cannot really afford to lose that Raven. Decides to drop the auto turret over here, okay? Is there going to be enough for the Terran player in red to actually clean this up? I'm honestly doubting it. There's reinforcements now also coming up. Maru just simply putting all of his rally points towards the other side of the map, it seems. Nice little bit of pickup micro there. Maru keeping as much of this army alive as possible. Siege tank here for Clem is out though. Okay, the first siege tank shot there from Maru did connect, so it does mean that I think the tank in red is going to die first. Is there going to be enough here for Clem to target fire down the remainder of the Terran units in blue? He does eventually kill the siege tank. Command center is burning, but I think it will stay alive as long as he repairs it in time. Raven of Maru now also has shown up. One of the Cyclone was apparently also needed by its people, as it also floats towards the surface of 2000 Atmos. Can he actually kill the command center here? Maru, no, he doesn't have enough CC firepower on that command center. Another siege tank here of Clem is finally out. And even though Chaos, well, I mean, it's not done yet. I was going to say Chaos is done for right now, or at the very least it seems to be clearing up a little bit. Maru has brought the second tank towards the other side of the map as well. Needs to be so careful. Maru actually moving forward right here, trying to bait the units inside of the siege tank fire radius, and he does get it. Clem is going to lose that second siege tank of his as well. Maru's Raven just barely stays alive. Clem loses his, and with that, even though this game was about to stabilize, it seemed, Maru does obtain the victory. Whew, alright. So, we find ourselves on Berlingrad in game number 2. That was the very first game I casted on the Monday morning. I just woke up like an hour ago. I had myself a little bit of coffee, and I'm glad I did, because that was very action-packed already. I still wonder, though, what would have happened if Clem actually would have caught that very first Reaper of Maru, because I feel like he could have. He probably just barely didn't notice it on the minimap. I mean, it was just a tiny little red blink right there for him on that minimap, and he must have just barely missed it. But if he would have killed that, then obviously that Reaper would have never gone instead of the main base. He probably would have been able to go for the counterattack a little bit quicker as well. Deny the CC from Maru, and honestly, that tempo lead in this matchup is absolutely massive. Either way, here we go, game number 2. Berlingrad, of course. I mean, I was going to say, of course, it's a bigger map. It is definitely... It's wider, right? So the bottom left-hand corner feels quite far apart from the top right-hand corner. But as far as rush distance go, or rush distances go, I don't really know if it's that much different to 2000 Atmos. Probably it feels that way mostly because of this like rock formation with the 2 5 mineral patches. So you can basically bring one SCV and mine out these mineral fields, and then you can go towards that high ground pretty easily. So early on, the rush distance definitely does feel a little bit longer than 2K Atmos, but obviously as soon as those rocks are gone, or as soon as like, I don't know, a medevac is out and you can just ferry units over the rock, yeah, it definitely does feel pretty speedy as well. Either way, I'm expecting that double gas again. Yep, from the both of them. Makes the most sense. It's just the nicest way of opening up. Gives you a lot of tech early on. Apparently Clem decides to go straight into a reactor this time around, so he's not going to be able to get as much value this time around out of that very first Reaper of his, but at the very least he's going to be able to pump out 2 of them at once if he wants to. Maru going for the more conventional start. Once again, not walling himself in right away with that second supply depot. Instead, he's going to plant the supply depot in a seemingly random location, but it is going to give vision of this little jump-up pad. So Berlingrad, it's got a little jump-up pad over here. It's like a 2-step one, so if a Reaper decides to like go up towards the high ground, he's going to be able to spot that pretty easily, whereas, yeah, Clem is going to be a little bit in the darkness here, but I wouldn't be surprised at all if he's going to plant down a supply depot over there in just a little bit as well. Alright, so Maru actually needs to be careful. He does decide to go straight into the main base, it seems. Clem is now producing 2 of those Reapers at once. Losing the Reaper would kind of suck. Yeah, Maru actually very careful. He's like, okay, sorry about that. I'll be leaving now. Thank you. Bye. Just shooting a grenade there and, you know, trying to do at least a little bit of damage, but he knows that his opponent is gonna be able to get his own Reapers out very, very shortly. Alright. So early game TVT can be very hectic. Mid game and late game of Terran versus Terran usually are a little bit more laid back. I mean, I say that, it's still very action-packed. I always like casting TVT. It's one of my worst matchups to play. Never really have gotten very good at playing Terran versus Terran just because it feels like the margin for error is so small. Anyways. Marines is a follow-up right now for Maru, so he's going to sit around on what seems to be 3 Reapers right now, as well as a Hellion. Second Hellion is going to be coming out as well for Clem here very shortly, who's got 4 Reapers of his own, so he probably will be getting a little bit more aggressive. Players getting that quick second gas, or I guess third gas as well, instead of the natural expo. So, third gas in total, that is. The third gas is super needed if you want to make those Ravens. So, the Ravens are 200 gas each. They're very expensive. Compared to, for example, a Hellion, these are 0 gas each. Everything seems expensive compared to them. Either way, let's see. I mean, there's 2 Marines out right now as well. Very nice line right here for Maru, although obviously I say that and he immediately steps back. There is a Widow Mine over there in the middle of it as well. Yeah, there's no way you're going to be able to get anything done here, Maru. Or Clem, rather. Clem runs too bad. He's like, come on, fight me, bro. Fight me. Move forward. Fight me. Maru's like, no. If you want to step forward, you can. But you're not going to deal splash damage, and you're probably going to walk into the Widow Mine instead. A couple of units here waiting for maybe a jump up towards the main, but Maru is not going to have to worry about that too much. Clem already is back. Alright, so we see a very similar push this time around compared to the one that we saw in the previous game. This time around, however, it's going to be the French Terran player who's executing it. I do like this, though. He knows the direction in which the Terran units in red probably escaped, so he's like, you know what? Oh my god, this could be a disaster. Ugh. He does keep it alive, obviously, but still losing quite a lot of health there on the medevac. The medevac is actually super important here. One little lock-on right now with the Cyclone would end it. That being said, I mean, this is still looking mighty fine right now for Clem. Siege tank, though, of Maru does get into a better position, and this is a big contrast from what we saw in the previous match. Then every single time Clem tried sieging up a tank, he immediately got shot at, and it made a bit of a disaster. Well, that's that medevac gone. At the very least, now it's in range of the... But I still don't like this as much right now for Clem. Okay, he's actually following this up with a Cyclone of his own. A couple more Marines also walking across. Okay, Maru decides to, just save up energy right here for an interference matrix. So temporarily, that siege tank right here in red is going to be shut down. That's the advantage right there of having that Raven out for a little while longer. You're going to be able to accumulate energy for a while. And Maru makes that hold look easy. Woof. All right. Well, that must feel a little bit foolish, right? Interference matrix, so powerful. It's just that you have to have the Raven out at the appropriate time. Like, if you start making a Raven reactively, or as a response to seeing that push, it's never gonna get enough energy in time. So, Maru right there looking pretty powerful. Going for the counterattack right now, it seems. We're gonna need a tank here as well at home, Clem. Okay, he's got one just about to finish up. Maru keeping a lot of those units alive for now. A couple of Marines do die. Okay, SCVs are going to be pulled away as well. Auto turret will drop down. Auto turret obviously is going to be able to kill a lot of those SCVs. And honestly, at this point, Maru is dealing so much damage. Even though it will probably be cleaned up eventually. 8 SCVs. Well, I mean, could have been worse, right? I feel like it could have been like 11. Anyways, 8 SCVs is still pretty bad at this stage in the game to lose. So if you look at their total amount of resources lost, yeah, you can definitely see that Clem has lost a little bit more than his opponent, and it now puts Maru at 69 supply. In my opinion, that's pretty nice. Third CC already done here as well for the blue Terran player. He's now going to finally add on additional production structures as well. So eventually, all the roads do lead towards like that Marine siege tank medevac-based army. It's just that Terran versus Terran in the early game is pretty aggressive. Alright. So now the third CC is done. Not actually dropping a mule with that one before lifting it up, interestingly enough. Third CC also done here for Clem, though. So at the very least, we're going to be able to transition towards a bit more of a macro-focused game, it seems. Stimpack for Maru about, well, 25% or so of the way done. Double NG Bay right here for Clem. A little bit greedy. Well, we already see 2 as well for Maru, who does decide to start up the 1-1 upgrades as well. Okay, scan right there from Maru actually does reveal where those units are. Clem also scanning here, but he does not actually see the player in blue's units at all. Clem right now actually caught with his pants down. Gotta be so careful here. Couple of Ravens though. Okay, you know what? The Ravens are pretty sweet. Yeah, just kill whatever you can. Couple SCVs here and there. There are 3 siege tanks available as well for Maru. Oh my god, he does need vision over there, but eventually he does get it. A couple of interference matrices do drop down as well, whereas Maru decides to go for the auto turrets instead. Auto turrets gunning down most of the siege tanks. It looks like the same is happening on the other side, though. Both players taking a lot of losses. But once again, Clem lost a bunch of workers there. Okay, well, maybe Clem is gonna lose more. I mean, this is not looking so hot here for the Frenchman. We now see 18 SCVs going down, and as far as trades go for the units, it seems almost identical. One siege tank over here also not sieged up, not in the right position. Clem is just gonna continuously be pressured here. A couple of Vikings, obviously, also not bad at all against mechanical units. As a matter of fact, these guys deal bonus damage against mechanical. SCVs just simply struggling to stay alive, and so far, Maru is heavily outplaying Clem. Okay. Stimpack at this point is done as well. Beautiful splits right there by the South Korean Terran player, negating a lot of that splash damage. Second siege tank also goes down. Clem is just going to be forced to GG out. Wow. So I was just thinking about it, right? I'm pretty sure I haven't seen Maru lose a whole lot of Terran versus Terran this year. So I decided to pull up the statistics, accidentally spoiling myself for this particular series as well, which is probably not great. Either way, in 2021, before this series was played, Maru had played 22 best-of-3 plus series. Meaning like, you know, not just best-of-1s, but best-of-3s, best-of-5, best-of-7s, that sort of thing. Out of the 22 that he had played, he won 21 of them. He only lost 1 series of Terran versus Terran before this match was played, during IEM Katowice 2021 against TY. Isn't that wild? So he's got a 90+% win rate in this matchup this year so far. Maru. Looking pretty powerful, huh? Anyways. That previous game as well, though, right? He just killed a couple of SCVs there from his opponent earlier, and then he went for the counterattack, and... well, then Clem decided to roll the siege tanks down towards the third base. Scanned ahead, didn't see the army in blue. Maru showed up all of a sudden, and then it was full panic mode. And apparently Maru, calm and collected, didn't really seem too bothered by anything. Just went ahead and microed better than his opponent and just out-strategized him. Terran vs. Terran, maybe that's my weakness in this matchup. Terran vs. Terran definitely does feel more like a strategy game, right? I mean, the classic comparison for Terran vs. Terran is chess in real time, where both players, you know, are playing at the exact same moment. And there's a fog of war. Anyways, there's a couple of comparisons to be made here and there, but there's no denying that Terran vs. Terran is very strategic. You have to constantly think about what your opponent is seeing and what they are likely expecting at that point in the game, and where you can potentially catch them off guard. In the other matchups, I mean, Zerg units, I mean, you can be out of position with Zerg as well, but then you're not, right? You're out of position, and anyways, you weren't. Just because the Zerg units are so quick. Protoss tends to kind of just... yeah, be a little bit more active in that matchup as well with Protoss versus Protoss. Every once in a while we see players out of position there too, obviously, but it's a little bit more straightforward just because there's even fewer units available than in Terran versus Terran early on. Either way, let us have a look at what's happening. So Clem, bottom left-hand corner of Hardwire, gonna be opening up with just a single Reaper, and then he's probably gonna go into that Hellion production. Starport as a pretty quick follow-up as well. Maru going for a reactor as well as a tech lab here. So no quick starport for him. Does mean that he's likely going to be forced to play a little bit more defensively. But honestly, we saw that went on Berlingrad, right? Where he was playing defensively early on, but then he wasn't. Then all of a sudden he defended at home, decided to pack up all of his units and go to the other side of the map. 2 Reapers here of Maru going into the main base of Clem. You don't want to lose anything against this man. Clem, losing 2 SCVs is not what you want, man. 3 SCVs? Oh my god, 3 SCVs. Okay, maybe you can get one of the Reapers in retaliation. 4 SCVs? Wow. Alright. That's way more than you want to lose. Is he going to be able to keep one of the Reapers alive? No, I don't think so. Alright, so in the end, maybe a little bit too greedy there for Maru. But obviously, since he's already got that tech lab on the factory, he doesn't really need the Reapers anymore, because the Cyclones will be able to deal with most kinds of counter-aggression. Plus, Maru, obviously, with those 4 SCV kills, also managed to get a full scout there of his opponent. You can figure out exactly what's happening. Okay, so Clem actually mixing it up. Going for a very quick concussive shells upgrade. That's great for the Marauders. If you can catch, for example, one of those cyclones with a slowing grenade, that's pretty helpful, but it's also a bit risky. Alright. You don't have to rush out Stimpeg necessarily, so I don't think that's the main gamble. It's just that these Marauders do have to, like, pay for themselves, and as the battles get bigger, usually the Marauders just sort of die, right? They kind of just get picked off very easily. Second Marauder is going to finish up soon as well. Clem definitely looking to pile on the pressure, but you can already see it reflected right here in the supply count. It's 50 versus 46 right now. Okay. No Raven available just yet for Maru. He's got a siege tank though and 2 cyclones. Did he just hit a supply block? Wow, small little supply block right here for Maru, who is going to finish up that depot eventually. Careful though, dude, 2 Marauders going into the main base, but there's already 2 cyclones waiting. Maru also positioned pretty far back so the lock-on can deal maximum amounts of damage. Okay, medevac does go down, and this is now a problem. This army can't really move in either. I mean, you can't try. Maybe roast a couple of units here and there. It's gonna take a very long time for this siege tank to be killed. Looks like the Marauders in the main base are also being taken care of. Maru is pretty ridiculous. Yeah, Maru is pretty insane. So even though he didn't really know what was coming, he was already positioned perfectly there. Like, I do want to emphasize the Cyclone positioning. It's very tempting to put the Cyclones on the edge. But now Maru, yeah, was basically going to be able to, or he was able to lock on right there on the medevac and get some additional shots in with those Cyclones. And once again, this is kind of deja vu from the previous game. Maru defends at home, then he counterattacks with whatever he's got. He is scouting around over here, making double sure that there's no medevac or that group of Hellions hiding on the left side of the map. 3rd CC on the back of this. And all of the rally points right now seem to be across. He is going to go into the Stimpeg as well. Siege tank also, yep, is going to just roll straight across the map if possible. What does Clem have at this point for defense? He's got 2 Ravens here. 1 Raven with a good amount of energy. Interference Matrix is available on that one as well. Clem. I don't think you want to... I don't know if I like this. Alright. He apparently thought it was a good idea, which probably means it was. Okay, decided to roll a little bit further forward here. Going for the Hellion counterattack right now. Siege tank caught in the middle of the map. Siege tanks unsieged actually deal a lot of damage too. Okay, couple of landed Vikings. Oh my god, Maru! That can't be planned, right? He's like, yeah, if my opponent goes for the Hellion counterattack, I have 2 landed Vikings to deal with it. Was that planned? Probably. Clem's being played like a fiddle. Despite the fact that Clem has been dominating in the European region, right? Having a good win-loss ratio against both Raynor and Serral, who seem to be his biggest rivals, there's no denying that Maru seems to be maybe 1 bridge too far. 3rd CC, moving on over towards the low ground. Double NG Bay once again in the back. Barracks 2 and 3 coming up here as well for Maru. That being said, I mean, Clem is still looking pretty good here, though. He's got himself a whole load of units out. Once again, though, this low ground is very dangerous. Right now, if you're the aggressor, you don't have to worry about splitting your units, right? Like, Clem right now needs to have the units in the right place at the right time. Stimpeg not done yet here for Maru, not done yet here for Clem either. They're gonna actually finish that up right around the same time. Interference Matrix does come up. Maru's gonna be able to kill one tank. He says, thank you. Look, you're so funny. Thanks, guys. No, but seriously, this is a little bit dangerous right here for Clem. He needs to be in the right place. Do you want to siege up the tanks over there? I mean, I think you want to siege them up, because otherwise your command center here is going to be in some trouble. Maru just shelling away right here at Clem's CC. Clem almost seeming a little bit confused about what he needs to be doing. Looks like the command center will stay alive because of that mass repair, but interference matrix has come up here as well for Maru. Maru just destroyed pretty much all of his opponent's units. There's only 1 siege tank available. A couple of Vikings still out as well. Alright. Clem gonna try and move further forward, but 5 tanks versus 2 is huge. Okay, need to be careful though. A couple Marines here available as well. I love the landed Vikings right here from Clem. Clem's going to be able to split those units up, deal a bunch of damage, kill his opponent's siege tanks. Looks like one tank still remains over here for Maru. A lot of Terran units in red also ended up going down though. Okay, 1-1 is going to finish here for Maru. 1-1 is much later right here for Clem. It is worth pointing out because these Marines are not going to mess around. They're going to be able to live through additional siege tank shots and everything. And in these small battles, it really adds up. Maru, once again, at a 20-plus supply advantage. Okay, one tank over there does actually survive, but it will get picked off before it can fire another shell. Maru is just running circles around the natural on the third base. I kind of like it. No medevac available, so he's not going to stim these Marines again. Siege tank is going to be dead regardless, so it doesn't really matter. Another siege tank does roll forward. Fourth command center, by the way, halfway done during all of this. 1-1 is finished here as well for Maru, whereas for the Terran player in red, there's not even anything like that in sight. And just like that, Maru obtains the victory over Clem, 3-0. So at this point in series, in 2021 of Terran vs. Terran in particular, Maru has played 24 of them, and he's only lost 1. So that means he's got a 96% win rate in matches in Terran vs. Terran in 2021. That's crazy.